But I was only joking.
It started as jokes, small jokes, but Ameerah didn't realise how deeply words can hurt, until she became the one everyone was laughing at. Ameerah was one of the most popular girls in school. She was confident, quick with words, and always surrounded by classmates. Whenever she spoke, people listened. Whenever she joked, people laughed. And Ameerah loved that feeling. At first, her jokes seemed harmless. If someone dropped their books, Ameerah would grin and say, "Maybe the books wanted to escape your homework." The class would laugh. If someone mispronounced a difficult word while reading, Ameerah would repeat it dramatically, making her friends giggle even harder. Teachers sometimes gave her warning looks. "Ameerah," they would say gently, but she always smiled innocently.
I was only joking.
And slowly the jokes became a habit. Ameerah began noticing people's mistakes more than their feelings. The shy students became easy targets. The nervous ones became entertainment. And every laugh from the class made her feel more important. There was one girl in particular named Hana. Hana was quiet and soft-spoken. She wore simple clothes, spoke carefully, and rarely raised her hand in class unless the teacher called on her directly. She wasn't unpopular, but she was easy to overlook. Ameerah noticed her because Hana reacted differently from others. She never argued back, never rolled her eyes, never insulted anyone. When people laughed at her mistakes, Hana usually just smiled weakly and looked down at her desk. One morning during English class, the teacher asked Hana to read a paragraph aloud. Hana stood nervously with the book in her trembling hands. At first she read slowly but clearly. Then she stumbled over a difficult word. A few students giggled quietly. Hana paused and tried again. But before she could continue, Ameerah copied the mistake in an exaggerated voice. The classroom burst into laughter. Even students who normally stayed quiet laughed too. Hana's cheeks turned red. She lowered her eyes and sat down quickly. The teacher's smile disappeared. "Ameerah," she said firmly, "that's enough." Ameerah shrugged. "I was just joking." But for the first time, the teacher looked truly disappointed. That afternoon, while walking home, Ameerah happily told her friends about the moment. "Did you see Hana's face?" She laughed. Her friends laughed too. But nearby, an older woman sitting outside a small shop overheard the conversation. As Ameerah passed, the woman said softly, "Be careful, child. Sometimes laughter returns to the person who sends it." Ameerah barely paid attention. She smiled politely and kept walking. That evening, while helping set the dinner table, Ameerah's mother noticed her cheerful mood. "You seem happy today," she said. Ameerah laughed. "We had a funny moment in class?" Her younger brother looked curious. "What happened?" Ameerah began mimicking Hana's nervous reading voice. Her brother laughed immediately. But her mother didn't. Instead, she placed the plates down slowly and said, "The Prophet, peace be upon him, never mocked people. He made hearts feel safe." The room became quiet. Ameerah looked away. "I didn't mean anything bad," she muttered. Her mother sighed gently. Words can hurt more deeply than we realize. But Ameerah still didn't fully understand, because she had never been the one people laughed at. A few weeks later, the school announced presentation day. Students would present projects in front of teachers, parents, and other classes. The classroom buzzed with excitement. Ameerah immediately smiled. She loved attention. She loved speaking in front of people. And most of all, she loved hearing applause. "This is going to be easy," she whispered confidently to her friends. The teacher assigned everyone topics. Ameerah received the solar system. She practiced every evening at home, speaking confidently in front of the mirror. She imagined the audience smiling. She imagined teachers praising her. She imagined being the best speaker in class. Meanwhile, Hana quietly worked on her own project in the corner of the classroom each day. Whenever she practiced speaking, her voice remained soft and nervous. One afternoon during rehearsal, Hana accidentally dropped some of her presentation papers. As she bent to pick them up, Ameerah whispered loudly enough for nearby students to hear, "At this rate, her presentation will finish next year." Several students laughed. Hana froze for a moment before quietly gathering her papers again. But this time, something felt different. For a brief second, Ameerah noticed sadness in Hana's eyes. Real sadness, not embarrassment. Pain. The feeling lingered in Ameerah's mind longer than usual, but she pushed it away quickly. Presentation day finally arrived. Parents filled the school hall. Teachers sat near the stage with clipboards in their hands. Students whispered nervously backstage. Ameerah adjusted her uniform proudly. "This is going to be perfect," she thought. One by one, students gave their presentations. Some spoke confidently. Some forgot words. Some shook with nervousness. When Hana's turn came, she walked carefully to the front of the room. Her hands trembled slightly. Ameerah exchanged amused looks with her friends. But something unexpected happened. Hana took a deep breath and began slowly. At first her voice was shaky, then steadier, then stronger. The hall grew quiet. By the end, people clapped warmly. Even teachers smiled proudly. Ameerah frowned slightly. She hadn't expected Hana to do well. Then it was Ameerah's turn. She walked confidently onto the stage. The microphone stood in front of her. The bright lights shone directly into her eyes. For the first few sentences, everything felt normal. Then, suddenly, her mind went blank. Completely blank. The words disappeared. Ameerah froze. The room became painfully quiet. Her heartbeat pounded loudly in her ears. She tried to continue, but the sentences tangled together. A few students giggled softly. Someone in the back laughed louder. Heat rushed to Ameerah's face. Her hands began shaking. For the first time in a very long time, she felt small. The whispers in the audience sounded huge. The laughter felt sharp. Ameerah's throat tightened. She quickly muttered, "Sorry," then rushed off the stage. Backstage, tears filled her eyes. She sat alone behind the curtain, trying to stop crying. But the harder she tried, the worse she felt. Then, soft footsteps approached. Ameerah wiped her eyes quickly. It was Hana, not her friends, not the girls who laughed with her every day. Hana. She sat quietly beside Ameerah. "You were doing okay," Hana said gently. Ameerah shook her head. "They were laughing at me." Hana stayed silent for a moment. Then she said softly, "It hurts when people laugh at you." The words hit harder than shouting ever could. Ameerah looked down immediately. Because Hana wasn't speaking with anger. She was speaking from experience. And for the first time, Ameerah truly understood what she had been doing to others. Tears rolled down her cheeks. "I'm sorry," she whispered. Hana gave a small smile. "It's okay." From that day on, Ameerah changed slowly. She still joked sometimes. She still laughed. But now she thought before speaking. Whenever she noticed someone nervous or embarrassed, she remembered the feeling of standing frozen on that stage. And she remembered Hana's kindness. Because Ameerah had learned something important. A joke may last only a few seconds, but the hurt it causes can stay much longer. And the strongest people are not the ones who make others feel small, but the ones who make others feel safe